Music theory can be intimidating, but it doesn't have to be. So today I'm going to teach you about the fundamentals of music theory and how to apply them in very simple ways right now. But with a focus on digital music production, so there will be some fun exercises that you can do in your digital audio workstation, and it will hopefully be very easy to understand. Now, this tutorial does not explain your specific DAW, or digital audio workstation of choice, and it is recommended that you watch a specific tutorial for the basics of that first. So let's get started with the individual pitches on a piano. You will find that you have these funny little letters here, and there's only 12 notes that repeat. That's called an octave. So this C doesn't sound the same as this C, but they're still the same note inherently. So if you play them together, you'll hear it. Same goes for any other two Cs, or two Gs, or two Fs. It doesn't really matter, even if they have a slightly different quality to the sound, they're still the same note. How do you actually name those notes? You've got the white notes, they're just the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then back to A, octaves. And then the black notes are named relative to the white notes. For example, a black note right here, this one, between the C and the D, could be named after the note right below it, in which case it would be C sharp, or written with this hashtag-like symbol, or it could be named D flat, which looks like D followed by a small uncapital B. It isn't, but it kind of resembles it. It's important to know how to name notes so that you don't get lost when somebody tells you that a song is in the key of F sharp, for instance. In music, you differentiate between half steps and whole steps. A half step would be two notes that immediately succeed one another. This could be E and F, C and C sharp, A and A sharp. Doesn't matter which two notes as long as they're right after one another. And then for whole steps, there's a note in between. It could be E and F sharp, C and D, A and B. Now, here's an exercise. Try to identify whether the notes you hear are a whole step apart or half step apart. Understanding what a whole step and a half step is crucial for building scales. But first, what are scales? They are, to put it simply, notes that sound good together. There are many, many different scales, but I will focus on only two for this video. The major scale and the natural minor scale. These follow specific formulas that allow you to make them starting on any note. Here we have a root note, and then start with whole, so a whole step, another whole step, a half step, another whole step, followed by two more whole steps, and a half step back to the root note, our C. This would be C major, but this scale right here would be D sharp major. As you can see, it's the same inherent structure with whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. C major is often considered the basic or default scales, even in many DAWs, and will often be highlighted by default. This is simply because C major happens to be all and only the white keys from one C to another C an octave up. Now, in contrast to the major scale, A minor is considered the default minor scale a lot of the time. This is because, once again, it uses all the white keys, but this time from one A to another A. To actually build a minor scale on any key, you start with a root note, go up a whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. Once again, this works for any note you want to start on. With this, you can easily construct any minor key. With that out of the way, Here is another exercise for the viewer. Try to build the E major scale using the WWH method, which is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And try to build the E minor scale using the WH method, which is whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. With this, we can move on to simple chords. Each of these scales has 7 characteristic chords, which can be classified as either major, minor, or diminished. Though any 3 or more notes played at the same time can be classified as a chord, today we will only stick to basic chords containing exactly 3 notes. These chords are called triads. Let's start with the major chord. First, let's look at the notes of our scale. We will be using the C major scale. Major chords can be built with a root note or a bass note. In this case, that's our C. That's where we start. A third, or a note that's 2 notes above our root, in this case, the E. And a fifth, in this case, our G. To identify a simple major chord, look at the intervals, that is, the gaps between the notes. For a major chord, the third is 4 half steps, so 1, 2, 3, 4, above our root note, and then the fifth is 1, 2, 3 half steps above the third. If you swap these intervals, so that we have 3 half steps first, followed by 4 half steps, you get a minor chord. Major chords are typically thought of as more bright or happy sounding, whereas minor chords are typically thought of as a more dark or sad sound, though this isn't always the case, but it's a fine way to think about it for now. For our third type of chord, which is by far the rarest and edgiest type, you bring down the fifth 1 half step from the minor chord as well. This is a diminished chord. It's best to use these sparingly at first, unless you want to go for a very dark tone in your music. Think of them as spice. Too much spice can be an acquired taste, a bit of spice can be pretty good, but some things don't need to be spicy at all. Let's see what all the chords in the major scale look like. So in the major scale, we have chords that are named relative to the note that they start on. So since C is our first note, this is also our 1 chord. D is our second note, so this is our 2 chord. E is our third note, so it's our 3 chord, and so on and so forth. In a major scale, the first, 4th, and 5th chords are usually major chords, whereas the 2nd, 3rd, and the 6th chord are minor chords. And then there's the 7th chord, which stands out as the diminished chord. Here's your final exercise. Try to identify these chords as major, minor, or diminished. How did you do? Be sure to let me know. This will be all for this video, but I plan on making more to go in depth on things like chords or modes or other topics. But enough said. Thank you for watching.